If you have been paying attention to any of my shows over the last few months, you've seen this man's name come across each platform. He is talented in all areas. He shared his story on a mental health break. He spoke about his book, which we will talk a little about today, I'm sure, as well, on writing with authors. But today, the show is traveling to Iowa to sit down with Jeffrey Johnston. Jeffrey, it's great to see you.
Hey, it's great to see you as well. It's not a bad day here. It's probably mid 30s, which we had 20 below about 5 days ago.
Oh,
So with
no.
with wind chill. So,
Oh,
but
no. Well, that's the sound of Jeffrey's voice. He's a great guy. He's going to bring a lot of energy to the show today because what fueled his entrepreneurial journey is 100% passion. I learned that he puts all of his money made back into these businesses, and I'm going to share a little bit now before giving the microphone back to Jeff. And he began his entrepreneurial career by founding Premier Investments in Iowa, like me, formerly in the financial industry, but switching over to the mental health field. This is a financial services organization he established in 1989. Unfortunately, after losing his son, Seth, to a heroin overdose in 2016, he began a journey of spreading awareness about substance abuse and addiction in teens and young adults. This journey led him to founding Choices Network, a nonprofit dedicated to educating teens and young adults about the importance of making positive choices, as well as the educating parents, teachers, and coaches about substance abuse in teens. As you can tell, this is how we connected our both big passion to give back to these kids. And we have a real powerful spotlight story ahead of us in the show today. As we learned, Jeffrey faced tremendous adversity, but fueled that to propel him forward. We're going to dive into a Forbes article I found on 5 different entrepreneurs titled 5 Entrepreneurs on How Facing Adversity Helped Them Build Successful Businesses, which I'm interested to dive into as well because I'm right in the same boat, trying to use my story to make a difference. But let's not wait any longer, Jeffrey. Let's talk more about what led you to become an entrepreneur. We can start back in the finance world if you'd like.
yeah, I remember vividly. I had a finance degree. I wanted to be a basketball coach at first. That was my big passion because I had a chance to play 2 years of college basketball at a junior college, and realized pretty quick that that was really wasn't my calling, was to be a basketball coach. So I took some finance classes, loved learning about money, graduated with a finance degree, had no job opportunities whatsoever. Saw a company interviewing, they had the word finance in their name. Me being so smart, I got a real cheap suit, went down, interviewed. Apparently, it was a shell company for a life insurance company. So they were recruiting kids out of college and then getting us licensed and sending us to sell life insurance. Had I known that, I never would have done it. But as it turned out, it was the best way for me to get absolutely destroyed at a young age, and how to sell intangible ideas to people. Not a product. It's one thing to sell a car or a house because it's right in front of you. You don't really have to be a good salesman to sell a Lamborghini. But you do have to sell life insurance to be a heck of a good salesman. So I learned door-to-door life insurance sales at 23, and got, beat up literally. And I had no plan B. I didn't have a backup plan. And so I called one of my friends up and said, hey, let's start a company. And, 30 years later, we had a company managing $700 million of AUM, had 9 full-time staff and 7 advisors in my firm at its peak. And then, had the life event happen, out of that career now, sold the company, and taking what I made and putting it into mental health. But, I look back on the career of going from, 100 hours a week, sleeping in my car, borrowing off my grandmother, and no regrets. I mean, I almost feel sorry for kids today coming out of college that have cushy jobs and are clock punchers and have a boss. And I never had that. I had to, make my own way, and you learn resiliency. And that's probably where Living Undeterred comes from, was that fact that I didn't have a plan B.
I can very much resonate with the beginning of your journey. I interned at Northwestern Mutual Financial Network, and that is getting hung up on,
Yeah.
cussed at,
Yeah.
rejected 1,000 times, but you do learn a couple lessons in there. And I think it does help build resilience. And
Yeah.
in entrepreneurship, I'm sure you can attest to, you're going to get beat up a lot. It's just ups and downs. But I love how you found a passion where because let's shed some light on all the things here. It's not just the company you have here, Choices Network. I know you have the radio show. I know we have an event we were talking behind the scenes in Iowa. Let's talk about some of these extensions of your entrepreneurship brand.
Yeah. So when our son was poisoned by fentanyl and died in 2016, that really changed kind of my lens I was viewing life from. It was less about accumulating things and more about building relationships. And so I started a podcast right away called Living Undeterred, which is had you had on a guest, which is awesome. Wrote a book called This One's for You: An Inspirational Journey Through Addiction, Death, and Meaning, which basically talks about the journey, but in an inspiring way. I didn't want people to put the book down and feel depressed. I want people to put the book down and walk down the hallway and hug their kids and say, man, I love you. Thank you for being who you are. And, create gratitude in the world. And then from there, did the tour last summer, went out and bought an RV, took my kids around the country for 95 days and just, I don't know. It was advocating. It was an experience. It was exploring the United States on kind of our terms. But in the meantime, meeting so many great people, and then got back and bought an hour of airtime on the local radio station here. So I do the Living Undeterred Mental Health Hour. Just I have an entrepreneurial mind, and now I'm in the mental health space with, for the time being, some financial resources that I have accumulated. And I don't really want to retire. It doesn't interest me. I'm 56. I got 20 years of working my tail off ahead of me. And when I get to 76, I'll probably say the same thing. I'm 76. I got 20 more years. Retirement to me just is a mindset that doesn't sit well with me. And so I want to be in learning stage. I want to be innovating, meeting new people, and trying to really make a difference in the world. And I can't do that sitting on a beach somewhere.
I feel the same way, where I don't want to be bored. I don't like having nothing to do. At a young age already, I haven't had a day with zero things on my to-do list since I started this business. Mm-hmm. Whether it's still a backed up website where I haven't updated, podcasts, or you name it. Yeah. It's never ending. And I know you're an entrepreneur at heart, so I look forward to seeing the next project you tackle. But you have so much great stuff going on. Like I mentioned, that convention we have coming up in Iowa. He's hosting a mental health convention with aspirations to turn his area into the mental health hub of America. I learned. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I got back from the tour, and I would love to say that there was a expo going around in Iowa, and I would just buy a booth and speak, and I don't have time to wait. So no one's doing something like this, which is jaw dropping to me, because mental health is the #1 Googled word on the internet, just about. And so I just decided, okay, May 6th, I'm going to form the Living Undeterred Mental Health Expo. And I went out and basically prepaid and locked up a day at a nice place here, and started over again. Okay, I'm going to find the Avengers. I'm going to find the team of mental health warriors that want to come to Iowa and make a difference. And we're 80% full. I mean, it's been amazing how many people around the country have committed to this project. And I took a risk. I went out and kind of basically pre-committed, prepaid. And so it just goes to show that if you have a dream and you build it, in a lot of times they will come, and that's what's happened. So you're going to be coming up to Iowa. I can't wait to actually meet you, talk about your projects, introduce you to some of the people I work with, and we can really start to, as I like to say, crush the numbers. There's 825 Americans dying from overdose, suicide, and alcohol per day. We need to get that number going in the other direction. The bad news is it isn't. It's going in the other direction. And so you, me, the rest of the Avengers, we need to do a better job. We need to step up our game. We need to talk to more people. And so you committing to come up here on your own dime, invest your time, I think is going to be well worth it. And I'm really excited to have you up here. The other big venture we have that, I've talked a little bit about is our app we're launching here shortly.
Right. Yes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I just decided I want to start the nation's first one-page personal wellness plan for Gen Z. And what I mean by that is I want it to be simplified. Mental health's complex. It's confusing. There's labels, there's diagnosis. Kids need less, not more. And so I want to take the idea of financial planning, and I want to help kids build a personal mental wellness portfolio, similar to an investment portfolio. And the asset classes for me are health, wealth, and purpose. Those are our 3 asset classes, like real estate, stocks, and bonds. Mm-hmm. So again, this is an app that so far it's all bootstrapped by me. I have no investors yet. I have a board that's been awesome helping me get this designed. And, once I get the prototype built, which will be here in about a week, I can start going out and selling the idea, and then we're giving it away free to kids. So kids that you work with, Vincent, I'd love to have you beta test it for me.
Absolutely.
It'd be great to have the market you're in, to have our market is basically going to be, I'm going to say 16 to 26 in that range. You get too young and there's some hurdles with apps in regards to confidentiality and things like that. It get to be an issue when you're down to 10, 11-year-olds. So most of our work's going to be, in that mid-teens to low 20s. But we're excited for it. And again, I just think if you look at what's out there, especially with kids, Vincent, their cell phones become their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yep.
We can get their cell phone to be their biggest ally. And that's what this app, and we're naming it Brighten. And our tagline is let us brighten your day. And Brighten, by the way, is the name of my granddaughter. And Brighten is my son's daughter, who was born 3 weeks after he died. So I said the other day on a podcast, Vincent, I may run out of money, I may run out of time, but I'm not going to run out of passion.
That's right. I love it. And I look forward again to this big convention out there. Everyone out there, be sure to stick around to the end of the episode. We're going to find out exactly how to learn more about all of this online, more about Jeffrey, and it is at 80% filled. So if it's something you're interested in, you'll know exactly how to reach out to Jeffrey. But he kicked us off another episode of That Entrepreneur Show. Vincent A. Lancey here, and I'm excited to sit down with another founder of a company in a different location. Today, we are going to Iowa. I'm happy to shed light on a state that I have not had on here too much. He's up to a lot. You got a preview of that. But in order to accomplish all this success, we have to be learning and improving ourselves, Jeffrey. What is one app, tool, workshop, book, anything you found success from that you can pay forward?
Great question. I've been asked that a few times, and my answer is pretty consistent. I think the best book I've read, and again, this is as an owner of a company with employees, was Good to Great by James Collins. And the reason why I like that book is he lays out why companies go from good, which is fine. You make a good living, employ people, make a contribution to society, or you can be great. You can actually move the needle. And so we had that book be standard reading. I bought my whole company copies of it, handed it out one day. We actually took the class. I don't know if he still offers that, because this was like 10, 15 years ago. But that would be the book I would say for me was the one that just, I kept reading it going, wow, this is, it's one of those books where you read it with a highlighter, and when you're done, you realize you've highlighted 95% of the book. So it's like, I didn't even need to highlight it. I just need to go read it again.
I like doing that though. And I find that books I don't do that in, I have a more difficult time implementing what I've read. I'm trying now to really, I'm one of those guys, I have 5 books started and then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So now this year I've gone back and I've had so many of these books. I've gone back and highlighted that way at the end, the nerd in me, the forever student. I'll type up some study guide and go back because I've read so many great books. I've implemented a few things, but there's so much left undone. So that's great advice. We've learned a lot about Jeffrey today, his journey. We've learned all about his company, things he's offering. So before we hop into this week's spotlight story, let's ask Jeffrey, what are some of the more challenging parts of being on your own, being an entrepreneur, that we can help similar adversity fighters out here?
Well, when I was giving talks to fellow entrepreneurs and doing presentations at conventions and stuff, I was asked a lot about, what are the main things? And for me, I think the differentiator, the one thing that can really an entrepreneur could take from this is delegating, the art of delegating. And I had a saying that I actually heard from somebody else one time. It's called knowledge, desire, and time. Knowledge, desire, and time. And what that means is if you have the knowledge, desire, and time on a task, you probably don't need to delegate it. But if you lack one of those 3 things, then that's where you delegate. So a good example is if you have the knowledge to say, mow your yard, and you have the time to mow your yard, you just don't want to mow your yard. Well, then that would be a tool or an aspect of your life you could delegate out. So I have the knowledge, desire, time test with everything I do in my life. And if I lack one of those 3 things, then that's a great thing to delegate out. And as an owner of a company, you want to do everything. And I think trying to manage things on your own is a death nail. And any company that wants to get from good to great, you have to learn to put people, not take a position, Vincent, and fill it, but to take great people and then invent a position for them at your company. It's a whole different mindset. Too many people are saying, oh, I need a secretary, I need an assistant, I need a marketing director. Nope. I need Vincent Lancy in my company. I'm going to hire Vincent. I'm going to make up a position for him. Right? Whole different mindset.
Giving their strengths the opportunity to stay their strengths and not letting individuals struggle in areas where they can't excel at just to fill that. That's a great advice there, Jeffrey. For everyone out there, I couldn't put it better, really. I'm at the point where I'm starting to have now someone handle my emails on certain days of the week, my illustrations now becoming social media. And in the past, I've tried interns with, unfortunately, the university, and I learned that accountability is very hard to find someone to stick to, especially if they're not getting paid a supreme amount. I had one intern where we were friends on Instagram, obviously. She was running my accounts, and she said, "Hey, I have my family in town, so I can't post this week." I said, "No problem. I thank you for letting me know." She was out at the bars with her classmates, and I'm seeing her having a good time partying, and I'm just like, oh man. So it's tough to invest so much time up front if it's not a good fit. So I think that's another lesson right there. Take the time to make sure it's a good fit. Their strengths line up with what you're offering. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that. Let's now dive into the spotlight story. It's going to talk about some entrepreneurs who also faced adversity to help them build successful businesses. And I love just getting inspired through other people's stories. And we'll start right out with the first one, Forbes list. And her name is Inga Ellerson Nicholson, founder of Nikita Hair. She came from humble beginnings before establishing her as a self-made multimillionaire. Raised in a small Norwegian town by an alcoholic father, she became a mother at 15. She struggled with homelessness with her daughter and worked hard to make ends meet. While sweeping floors at hair salons, she decided to open her own and quickly grew Nikita Hair into a chain of 150 locations with over 1,000 employees in Europe, and now, at the time this article is written, starting to grow in the US. With a passion to help the disadvantaged, she launched an organization, called A Hand to Children, which empowers orphaned and disadvantaged children to live a better life. I love that story. Next lists a man named Scott Luane, CEO and co-founder of Dental Whale and Breakthrough Practice. After graduating from UT Health Science Center School of Dentistry and starting a practice in 2005, he suffered an accident that resulted in a broken back. This injury left him unable to complete the day-to-day duties of dentistry and forced him to take a step back and looked for an undiscovered path within the field. He decided to hone in on the business side of dentistry and examine the industry challenges. He quickly recognized that a recurring pain point among dentists is a lack of business skills, so he founded the company Breakaway Practice, a seminar company that offers education to dentists, and Dental Whale, which outsources dentistry business needs and practice management solutions. And I love that. Quote, "The adversity I faced, physical debilitation, financial pressures, broken emotions, weaknesses in leadership, taught me the humble lessons of entrepreneurship. It takes strong passion, enduring grit, harsh self-reflection, and an unbending optimism to navigate the choppy waters of building companies." I'm going to touch on one more before bringing on our guest of honor, and this one is Ken Peterson, founder of Apricot Lane. I learned he always had a dream of becoming a firefighter and loved the thrill of finding collectibles like Beanie Babies. Two different hobbies, but while he worked as a firefighter in California, in the 70s, he opened a retail store that specialized in collectibles and a consumer craze at the time. Soon, another back injury midway through his career and was no longer able to fight fires, so the collectibles were also losing their hype. He didn't know what to do. Rather than throw in the towel, he adopted to the changing retail landscape. He adjusted the product line to offer fashion accessories. Then, seeing a market opportunity for a fashion boutique franchise, he launched Apricot Lane, which now has 75 stores nationwide. 3 different stories here, Jeffrey, all pretty inspiring. What do you take away most?
It's amazing. When you have, say, an altruistic mindset where you just really want to do good, it's like the money follows. And I think a lot of great business ideas, are born with passion and desire. And, passion takes you so far, but profits will follow. If you do a really good job and you stay really focused on doing the right thing at, designing the right processes for people, whether that's an app or a bricks and mortar business, and then just live undeterred, man. I mean, I hate to throw in our name of our podcast, but really Living Undeterred, if that doesn't embody pretty much everything that you do, Vincent. I mean, look at your story is a good example. All the people you talked about previously there, they're undeterred. At points in their story, they could have quit. Matter of fact, statistically, they probably should have quit because the road ahead was harder than they probably envisioned, but they didn't. And now, success. What is success? Does that mean they made a lot of money, or does that mean they changed a lot of lives? I think it's different for everybody.
It is different for everyone. And for me, at one point, it was strictly financial means.
Me too.
It was just get this finance, get this MBA, get that corner office, get that money, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Granted, money does make many situations less stressful, but as you're saying, the money will follow. It has begun, it has started, and it will only grow. Events like this mental health convention in Iowa, where if I land one deal, that whole trip is paid for, and
yeah, absolutely,
I get to make a difference on a such larger scale. It's a challenge to everyone right now. I challenge you to find yourself in a room full of decision makers. Find a way to network with someone like Jeffrey.
I would say one thing, Vincent, and this is your mindset. This is what I think your followers and listeners should understand too, is you're looking at flying up here from where you are to Cedar Rapids, staying here for a day, then coming back. Okay. And in your mindset, that's not a cost. That's an investment.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the difference between a successful entrepreneur and one that just is always stuck in being mediocre, never really getting to the truth. They may make enough money to have a good life, but they could do better. And it's that, staff are looked at as expenses. My payroll is a cost. I never called my people that worked with me for my whole career anything other than stakeholders, partners. It was an investment in them. And I think that mindset will help anybody watching your show that, you're going to come up here on your own dime. Like I said, a lot of people are not going to do that because it's a cost. Well, I will guarantee you, can't promise it, won't put it in writing, but I'll guarantee you that you will go back a better person, and you'll meet somebody that will be an important part of your story going forwards.
And that's what it's about. I told myself 2023, I'm tired of waiting. I will have, after these 2 books come out, I am not ready to announce it publicly yet, but the release date is coming up. I'll have 7 books. I will have the podcast. My work with mental health is, I've laid a good groundwork. It's now finding like-minded individuals like Jeffrey. It's time for me to really monetize this operation, because monetizing it allows me, like you learned with Jeffrey, to make a difference on a larger scale. It's not monetizing, okay, now I'm going to Disney World every day, I'm doing Yankee games I'm able to reinvest in my business and take it to the level I need to. So thank you for such an insightful discussion so far, Jeffrey. But before I let you go, throughout history, which entrepreneur are you sitting down with to learn from, dead or alive?
I like that question. For me, and this would be kind of an odd one, but Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson, he's just somebody I've always admired. I mean, you look at Virgin Records and Virgin Galactic and all the groundbreaking areas that he goes into. It's really done amazing things, and I've watched his career over the years. I've watched what he's done. And, I think the easy answer is Steve Jobs and, Elon Musk and people like that. But, I think there's something about Richard Branson that always really attracted me to follow his story. He just got kind of that mythical look to him as well. Yeah. And now he's a Sir Richard Branson. So that makes it kind of interesting. But for people who really want to learn about him, just start researching where he started his first company when he was like 16. And then he was in the records like by 18 or 19.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, he was successful by all definitions in his teens, which is amazing. But I'll guarantee you, if you had a chance to look at his failures, the businesses that didn't do well, there's probably just as many or more than those out there than there are that have done well. So that's one thing you learn from really great innovators and entrepreneurs, is that they for every no is they're closer to another or closer to a yes.
That's the mindset I was forced and pounded to in entrepreneurship. If you don't have that mindset, you're not going to make it. And I think that if you find something you have a passion about, you're willing to make that sacrifice, and you're willing to take 1,000 no's because you'll do whatever it takes to get it to the next level, within means, of course. But Jeffrey, I love that story too at Branson. He was one of my spotlight story in the beginning of the show because of his remarkable journey, where it was just constantly an entrepreneurial mindset, from magazines to music to
Yep.
Virgin to you name it. Now he's going to space. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. But where is this going down? Where?
With Richard Branson? Oh, up there, man, for sure.
No question about it.
Yeah, that's not even an option. Yeah, I don't want to go up there in a spaceship and talk to him. Yeah.
Take his ship. I love it, Jeffrey. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on another series. Where can we find you online? Where can we find all about your podcast or all that good stuff?
I have really two websites. One talks about our tour and has some highlights on that, but it's just Jeff at Living Undeterred, either .org or .com. You can use both, and they take you to two different sites. So Jeff at livingundeterred.org, Jeff at livingundeterred.com, and our expo information's on there as well.
I'm going to have Jeffrey, after this conversation, email me all those links so I can just copy and paste them right into the show description. Everyone out there, if you are in the mental health sphere professionally, I'd love to link up with you and connect in person out there in Iowa. But until then, we are at That Entrepreneur Show, and I am at Vincent A. Lancy. Be sure to head to YouTube, Vincent A. Lancy, for a YouTube clip from today's show. But until next week, from Iowa to Tampa, we are signing off. Jeffrey, great to see you.
Keep living undeterred, my friend.